Congratulations. You made another wise decision. You came back for the 49th episode of the Broest Bros. You know, I'm your host, Fiat, reminding you that it is
better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
We have a most exciting episode for you guys today. This is going to be a collaborative effort. We're teaming up with TexasTriangleTrio.com, your one-stop shop for all things Texas sports.
To join me for this epic Texas Triangle Trio and Broest Bros You Know crossover, we got Brian Barrera.
Interesting.
What's up, Brian?
Not much. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. And then we got David BC Bridges. What's up, Dave?
What's up, y'all?
All right, guys. We're going to be going through the All-Stars, but first we're going to give a little rundown about how our respective Texas teams have been doing so far. Now, to choose who goes first, I got a couple questions to ask you guys. Whoever wins this gets to either go first or defer.
That's good, because this is not a ladies first, because then it would be the Spurs.
All right, first question. Who holds the record for the most points in a single All-Star game?
Kobe Bryant.
Dave?
I'm going to go with Charles Barkley.
Incorrect. 0-0. Will Chamberlain.
Makes
Who
sense.
holds the record
That's
for
obvious.
most career All-Star game points?
Michael Jordan.
Allen Iverson.
Kobe Bryant. Still 0-0. Neck and neck. What city was the first All-Star game played in?
Philadelphia.
New York City.
Boston.
Just to let you know, we are basketball experts.
We are basketball experts. The only reason why I know this is because I see the answers. Who is the only player ever to win 3 slam dunk contests?
Michael Jordan.
Ooh.
Oh, damn it.
Is it... Who's the guy from Philadelphia? The Dr. J.
Good guesses. Nate Robinson.
Obviously.
The first... I hope one of you gets one. The first slam dunk contest was held in 1984. Who won it?
Dr.
Michael
J.
Jordan.
Who'd you say, Dave?
Dr. J.
Larry Nance.
Ah.
Who has won the most NBA All-Star Game MVPs?
Kobe.
Man, I wanted to say Kobe. Shaq.
Just to specify, you guys can guess the same thing. It is Kobe Bryant.
Huh.
1-0. All right, who has played in the most NBA All-Star games at 18?
Ooh. Kevin Garnett.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Did Garnett even play 18 seasons?
I guess that's wrong. I thought he played 20. I thought he played like 19.
I thought David was just going to guess Tim Duncan on everything.
I'm going to go with Kobe on this one.
Wilt Chamberlain.
What? Wilt again?
Who holds the record for the most rebounds in a single All-Star game? Would it help
Wilt
you guys if I
Chamberlain.
gave you guys some like multiple choice now?
Wilt Chamberlain.
No, we're good. This is embarrassing. I like it.
You like it because you're up 1.
Just gonna. So the most rebounds in a single game.
Yep.
I will go with Charles Barkley.
Dave?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
How many? Wait, 22.
It says who holds the
No.
record. Who holds the record for the most blocks in a single All-Star game?
Dikembe.
Roger one.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who is the tallest player to win the slam dunk contest?
Sean Bradley. I mean,
No, is it Dwight Howard?
did he win?
I mean, he did Superman.
Gee, I think he did win, yeah. Yeah, Howard.
All right, Dwight Howard.
2-1.
2-1.
I'm just gonna. All right, you guess first every time now.
So-
I'm just gonna guess the same thing he guesses, and like
That was it. That was the last one.
Oh.
That was the last one. That was it.
championship.
So, looks
yeah.
like Brian gets to go first. Would you like to talk about the Mavs first, or are you going to defer to David Spurs?
I'll defer to the second half.
All right, David, you're up. So, tell us how the Spurs been so far, and what do you see from them coming out of the All-Star break?
Well, I mean, currently the Spurs have the best record in the league, 43-13, 4 games behind Golden State. I believe we're 4 games ahead of Houston, I think. It's been an interesting season so far for the Spurs. It's our first season without Timmy, which means a lot of changes. Offense looks a lot different. Defense looks very, very different. And I feel like a lot of Spurs fans have been a little down on the team this year, despite the fact that we're winning a lot of games. But the way we're winning is not the same well-oiled machine kind of wins. A lot of our wins have come because Kawhi Leonard's basically just put the team on his shoulders in the fourth quarter and gone, punched in the Kobe Bryant cheat code and just gone ham in the fourth. So it's definitely a different look this year, but we are still first in the league in defensive efficiency rating. Coach Pop is still our coach. LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't been the worst second fiddle player, even though he's not. He's definitely not an out. But as Kawhi's second, he's not too bad. Overall, it's been a good beginning to the season, but there are some lapses here and there that can be worrisome once we get to the playoffs.
Definitely, offense seems to be something that, like you said, not the same well-oiled machine that we've seen from the Spurs in the past. I've seen a couple games, and it seems like you guys are having to out-talent a couple teams. You're just a better team, and you have to gut it out. Last year, some of these games would have been a lot easier for you. But there are certain games like the Milwaukee Bucks games against teams that are 500, where last year the Spurs would have been easy W's. This year, they're going down to the wire, and it is taking Kawhi Leonard, putting the team on his back. That's very different than the Spurs in the past, which is more a team-oriented, whoever has the hot hand, let's spread the ball around. That may be worrisome. Just as the playoffs come around, they're going to start locking in on him. Will the other players step up? A couple things I want to point out. Very interesting. You pointed out that the Spurs have the number 1 defensive rating in the league. Now, of course, you do have to adjust for pace for that, but it's still very impressive nonetheless. David Lee is part of the lineup that has the best defensive efficiency in the league. He's part of that starting 5. He is also part of starting 5 that is one of the 3rd worst defensive efficiency lineups in the league. So, man, that guy's versatile. Another thing I want to point out, we talked about Paul Gasol before off the air. We never mentioned it on BBYK, but you were saying how you said from the eye test it didn't look like he was a great defensive player. Statistically, though, he was better than that. He has been about average for you guys. I looked it up. The guy that has been really good, or at least showing up as a statistical darling for you guys, is Dedmon.
Exactly, and that one's not just statistical. That one's eye test as well. Dwayne Dedmon's probably been our biggest surprise this year, or our biggest good surprise this year. His length and athleticism down there in the post has really made up for a lot of our other deficiencies. I mean, that guy, he fights for rebounds, and his motor says a lot and does a lot for our team. It's been really nice having him. I think he grabbed 17 boards the other night, which was a career high for him. But Dedmon's been a great find for us.
Guys that a lot of other teams pass on, and you guys turn them into productive players. A lot of that you got to give credit to Pop, but these guys, not everyone succeeds in the Spurs system, so you got to give credit to these guys too. My last question for you before we move on from the Spurs is Tony Parker. A couple years ago, we were talking about him as a bona fide all-star. Severe drop-off. Part of that is injury. I don't believe it can be all due to age, though I do know last year he came into training camp a little out of shape, and that affected his performance all season. What do you see from Tony Parker going forward? Is this going to be a reliable piece? I know he's been in and out of your lineup.
Honestly, from what he's shown so far this season, I don't think we can count on him. He's not necessarily a reliable piece at all. I mean, he still shows flashes of his former self. He'll cut to the lane, drop the little teardrop floater. But for the most part, he's honestly a detriment on offense. He's slower. His shot doesn't fall quite like it used to. He's not the same out there. And honestly, when he runs the point, I feel like our offense tends to stagnate, which I think is why Kawhi has been the offense has been running through Kawhi a lot more this season than previous seasons. And yeah, it's unfortunate because I love Tony. He's done great things for the franchise, but he's just. I think his time's up. It's not working anymore, unfortunately.
All right, and the last thing of note before we move on officially, Patty Mills is the guy that I said that was a really good pickup by the Spurs when they got him. He can hit the 3 ball, seems like a baller. Looked up the advanced stats on him. He is part of every one of your best offensive lineups, but he's also part of every one of your worst defensive lineups. So it's a win some, lose some with him. We'll have to see that point guard position is an interesting position for you guys going forward. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks. This was a team with about 2 months into the season. It looked like this was a team that's going to be going for a top 3 pick. Rebuilding team, a lot of good young pieces. Veteran pieces were either injured or completely ineffective. It just looked like, all right, this is a good rebuilding year. The Mavericks were going to embrace that. And then the last month and a half, only the Golden State Warriors have been a hotter team. Brian, what's up with the Mavericks?
So yeah, this is a tale of like breaking down the first half of the season. This is the mythical midway point. It's a tale of two halves and like a tale of two teams, a little like split personality. Like you were saying, the second half has been really cool to see. The problem is they've been digging themselves out of a huge hole that they picked up at the beginning of the year due to some injuries. Some of the pickups they made. They picked up Bogut and he was injured in the beginning and changed a lot of what they wanted to do, and really testing what they do, changing it on the fly. And I believe we have the second best coach in the league. I mean, Pop obviously is like number one runaway, but Rick Carlisle is amazing, and what he can do with Bondo and duct tape and putting this team, putting a competitive team out on the court night after night is pretty cool to see. And when I say it's a tale of two like teams within it with the split personality, there's nobody born on this team between the years 1987 and 1989. So everybody is under 26 or over 30 on this team. And what I think you get with that is the inconsistencies that come with something like that. On the older end, night to night, guys just aren't going to have it every single night. They got to pick their battles. They're going to play much better at home. The legs are going to be fresher. The second night of back-to-backs are going to be, brutal for them. And with the younger guys, they have the energy, they have the spring. They just don't have that. You don't want to like characterize these guys not having work ethic, but just there's something to being a veteran and being in the league for a while, to learning yourself how to navigate, an entire season and have the ups and downs and ride it a little better and play it a little closer to and not have the highs and lows that you will with the young guys. So I think that is indicative as much as anything is like the two parts of the first half of the season, the two differences of like age groups on the teams and trying to mesh that all together. And that's where, Rick Carlisle has been really good, and finally it's not even getting through to these guys. It's just finding out the rotation, what works, and their approach, there being the Mavericks kind of brain trust of Don Nelson, Mark Cuban, and Rick Carlisle saying, we're going to play the young guys. If we can make the playoffs, great. If we make a run, that doesn't mean we're going to start playing more and more like older veterans. We're just going to see what they have, and it's going to be a trial run for the rest of the season. And if the early results are indicative, I think they're going to do well, but they're not going to sneak up on teams as they have been. I think people have taken nights off on the Mavs and they've snuck up and won a few. The back-to-back wins with Cleveland and San Antonio were big for us, but that was just those really good teams kind of falling asleep and saying, hey, autopilot, of course we'll win these games.
You think the Mavericks are going to get that 8 seed?
I don't. I would like to see it. I'm optimistic. I love the Mavs. I just don't know that they have the horses. I mean, there's what you were talking about with David and being out talented. That's happening to the Mavericks. They are just getting destroyed on the rebounds night after night. You can't. I mean, people are getting so many second chance points. There's just, when it comes down to it, they're just not as good as the other teams they're chasing right now. They're competitive, but I think they're just not as good as the teams they're going to be playing the rest of the way down. And they'll get better. And I think they're an exciting team to watch. They're a fun team to watch for sure. Seeing some of the stuff they're doing with Harrison Barnes. I mean, he's as advertised. I mean, everybody was really wary, of the big deal he got for $95 million. And I think he's played up to it, as much as he can in the first half of this year. They've tried to make him the go-to guy, giving him the last shot. It's actually kind of Kind of funny. There was a game, I think maybe against Utah or the Nuggets, where he was given the last shot. He misses it, and the rebound comes straight to Dirk, and Dirk buries it. I mean, it was just, it's basically, it's not, they're trying to give it to him, but it's not quite there yet. And that was really a microcosm of like what the season is about. Like, Dirk still can do it. He's still the man. He just can't do it every night, and he still needs to show these guys what he can do. And I think he still loves the game, which is great. You know, he's creeping up on 30,000 points. He's within 100. So here, just after the All-Star break, he'll, you know, in the first 5, 6, 7 games, he'll cross that kind of barrier. And I think there's only five other guys that have done that.
Yeah.
So it's all about milestone watching at this point, more than, you know, what I expect them to do.
I think there's a decent chance that you guys can make the playoffs. I was looking at the odds, and it's that one game that really separates the Trailblazers and the Sacramento Kings currently from the Mavericks. They've been bouncing back and forth the entire time, but that magic number increases dramatically. Right now, the Mavericks are sitting at 6% chance of making the playoffs. If they jump the Blazers and the Kings, they jump up to 26%. If they get any better than that, that number creeps up to 40%. If they jump the Nuggets, they jump up to 50%. They're about 3 games back right now, and there's nothing from the Nuggets that suggests that they're going to set the league on fire like after the All-Star break. They are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing of note, I looked this up for our 3 teams respectively. The Rockets had the 3rd hardest strength of schedule going into the All-Star break. The Spurs had the 5th hardest strength of schedule. The Mavericks had the 15th hardest strength of schedule. So the Rockets and the Spurs get rewarded with the Spurs, the hardest strength of schedule for the remainder of the season. The Rockets with the 10th hardest strength of schedule. The Mavericks with the 27th hardest. So you're actually going to have one of the easiest schedules for the remainder of the season. I definitely think that 8th seed is within reach, and it's just good for the NBA. We want to see the 8th seed Mavericks knock out Golden State Warriors, get revenge for Dirk, his MVP season.
Agreed.
Come back, get revenge, especially if one of the Warriors will probably, like, if one of them wins the MVP, if they give it to Durant.
That would be incredible.
And Dirk goes in there and takes it away from him first round.
The Mavericks are known for doing this. They got sweet revenge on the Heat after going up 2-0 and choking away that one. So, I mean, it fits the potential narrative. I think, you know, what I was looking at was really a math problem. I think I looked up, they have to go like 17-9 the rest of the way to get to 500, which I think it's going to take getting to 500 to get into the playoffs in that 8 seed. I mean, that's the best they can do, because above that, the Thunder at 7, which is like,
yeah,
you know, we're going to get into other stuff, but I think I just see it as a math problem, and I don't think they're capable of going 17-9 the rest of the way.
I don't necessarily know if you're going to need a 500 record to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the top teams in the West are so much better than the bad teams in the West that you're really going to have teams. You might have multiple teams that get to 60 wins, and then a bunch of teams that are like sitting at 20 wins.
Gotcha.
That's just the way.
Wow,
it's a very top heavy Western Conference this year.
If Sacramento trades away Boogie, I mean, that's one less team to have to worry about too ahead of you.
Let's talk about Harrison Barnes real quick before we move on from the Mavs. You said that he has lived up to the contract. Now, one of the things that worries me is if you break him down for advanced statistics, it looks like when teams start zoning in on him, he definitely falls quite a bit in offensive efficiency. One of the knocks on him, he was a Duke guy, right? And I think like that first season, I remember he was supposed to be a bona fide #1 pick overall. This guy was like the next Kobe Bryant, very skilled player, had all the athletic tools to succeed in the league, but he seemed to defer. And that's not a bad thing, being a team first guy, but it seemed like this guy had the build and the talent to be a #1 guy, and he was kind of more comfortable being a second fiddle. Went to Golden State, a team filled with alphas, and was more than comfortable playing the utility role. Going to the Mavericks, I've been impressed with how he's sort of taking on the role as being the alpha now. And like your example, that's great because he's still uncomfortable with it at times, but I think we're all seeing how we can see the progression. We can see him becoming the guy. Do you think that Harrison Barnes is a #1 for a contending team?
No, I don't. And the reason I say I think he's worth it is because of the dynamics of the cap going up year over year.
True.
So I think what I'm saying is he's playing well for the level of the deal he's gotten himself into, which I don't think was a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think it was widely panned. I think everybody was in wait and see mode, and it's still really early. But yeah, I think I'm very pleased with who he is, what he is, and if he doesn't, he's not going to be. Every team has a number one. He's our number one. Even bad teams have number ones. But I think if this team and when this team is going to compete again, Harrison Barnes will not be the go-to. I know he's got a lot of talents, but he's still. It's unfair to say he's still raw, but there is still room for growth in his game. There's, ball handling is still a little suspect. There's, he passes well, but could do it better. He's definitely turning into a playmaker, but you're right. When they do zone in on him and the focus is on him, that's something. It's gonna take doing it over and repeating the process and really learning how to work his way through that. I mean, look at Dirk. That guy was, soft as a marshmallow coming into the league is what everybody said, and he just kind of gotten hardened and took those shots and missed them and took them and hit them, and now at the end of his career he's kind of one of the best to close games out.
Yeah, it seems like that's all it's like that's his role now.
Yeah,
just go in there, hit clutch shots. He still got it, man. It's kind of awesome seeing Dirk.
For sure. But yeah, it's great that his game has never been predicated on athleticism. He's shooting a lot more threes. I haven't looked this up statistically, but it seems like he's shooting a lot more threes than he has. For a long time, especially after Avery Johnson came in, got him to work from the free throw line extended and down on the block a little bit. He that's what he worked on, that flamingo fadeaway and using the glass. But when he came into the league, he won a 3-point shooting contest when he first came into the league. So he's got it. It's just, especially with the league, I would love to see like the 2007 Suns playing right now. It would just be incredible. I mean, this is basketball. It's like poor Don Nelson somewhere is just like crying himself to sleep every night that he doesn't like get to play in this NBA.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna move on from the Mavs in a second. I will say, just my opinion. I feel like you do have to just go for broke. Like I think it's playoffs or bust.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're kind of just. This was an opportunity. The first 2 months, this was an opportunity for you to just kind of like hand over the team to the younger guys and land a top pick. And this year is a point guard heavy draft. That we have a couple guys up there that are probably going to be all-star point guards. And Darren Williams isn't part of your plans moving forward. And you guys just picked up out of nowhere one of the most fun guys. If you guys haven't seen him yet, Yogi. This guy, he's small, he's quick. Yeah, I don't want to say Isaiah Thomas because it's like, oh yeah, small guy that can shoot like him. He's not quite the.
He also went to Indiana.
Yeah, he's not quite the prolific scorer that Isaiah is, but man, he's a good passer. He's a good point guard.
He is, and what he does that goes unnoticed. So the flashy stuff that he does, he scores, he's quick, he attacks, and he finds the open guy. But on the defensive end, he's still very quick, very agile, and he basically doesn't leave Dirk exposed on the pick and roll, which is what teams do. They pick and roll us to death. That's the game plan. You come in, you attack the basket, you pick and roll, and like that's a recipe for success in Dallas. But Yogi has the ability, or like even just the desire to fight through those screens and get over top of them and stay with his man so they're not having to switch it, leaving a huge liability on Dirk with like, CJ McCollum just like twisting him around in space. So yeah, Yogi has been a breath of fresh air. We signed him on that 10-day contract, and he parlayed that into a 2-year deal, which is great for him, great for us. I think it allows us the opportunity to potentially trade Darren Williams away if somebody's looking for him. I mean, Cleveland I think is going to be. I would hope that would be a good destination for them if they have something they can give us back. I think we are.
Kyrie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they just need somebody to spell Kyrie. Yeah, that would be great if they could. That would answer a lot of prayers, and maybe we'd win an extra 3 games.
Kevin Love's injured. Maybe they'll trade him for Darren.
You'll just take all of them. We'll take everybody that LeBron wants to trade us and go from there.
Yeah, he wants his playmaker. You'll give him the playmaker. You'll just take all the talent from his team. That's the way I see it, though. To me, it would be a little disappointing if the Mavs end up making that push. I know, like, you're gonna want to flip it. If you're a Mavs fan, you're gonna want to flip it and say, oh, but like it's good for the morale of the team, and I'm sure that's worth something. But man, those high draft picks are really valuable. So if you're gonna not get one of those, and the thing is, the bad thing about the Mavericks is, like, yeah, it's a math problem. They maybe they can't win enough to make it to the playoffs. The problem is that the bad teams in the league are just like really bad. It's a math problem the other way. It's hard to lose as much as some of those teams are capable of losing. I mean, you got the Brooklyn Nets, you got the Phoenix Suns. Like these are like just these teams are tanking, like obviously. Tanking.
Yeah. Tanking is just, I know it's something you've never had to deal with, David, and I don't know, did you guys tank at all any time? You guys have been consistently pretty good at just...
Well, see, that's the thing, and I say this from
You being
perspective
Houston,
of a
sorry.
team,
Yeah.
from the Rockets, from my perspective, what the Mavericks are doing is very reminiscent of what we did after Yao went down.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the Kyle Lowry, Louis Scola teams that were scrappy and were able to win enough games to kind of fight for an 8th seed. But it was kind of like, what are we doing here? Maybe we should either lose. And, you know, it was the owner, Les Alexander, the owner of Houston Rockets, was pretty upfront. He was like, I want to put out a competitive product while we rebuild. So he wanted a competitive rebuild. And, you know, it's really tough. For Daryl Morey, you're basically working with mid-first round picks to try to trade up. Now, we got lucky. We were able to trade Kyle Lowry for a lottery-protected pick, which we then turned into James Harden. So we were able to get our superstar without tanking. But, you know, that's tough. That's a lot of moving parts, and you never want to have to depend on a trade to make your team. The way the Mavericks are set up right now, it would be perfect to add a young guy. You guys are also going to have a lot of cap room next offseason, so you're going to definitely be one of the major players. I mean, that's nothing new.
Mark I think we're going to be leveraged for a lot of teams. Yeah, that's what that means.
Every single free agent is going to have a meeting with Mark Cuban.
Always.
It's like, what free stuff am I getting? Cool, awesome. I'm going to tweet this out that this meeting went well, and let me go to the other team and have them up their offer.
They may even tell us they signed with us. We may start telling people we signed them. I mean,
and then the other team has to lock him in his own house to sign a different contract. Oh, bring it out.
That great emoji war. I don't know if anything can, like, you know, it's all salt in the wound, but like that emoji war that popped off with everybody and old man Paul Pierce getting in the action.
Oh, old man emoji with Paul Pierce. Really cool seeing him the other day. Just a side note, but his last game in Boston, and he came out there and he sunk a three. His like.
Well, he had never been scoreless. He had never been held scoreless in the Garden, in a game in the Garden. So I think that was a big deal.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Also,
cool moment for him.
Kissing the court, I mean, it's good that something means something to these guys. I mean, everybody kind of wants to go back home. You know, KG went back to the Timberwolves. He's back there. I mean, that's good that you kind of think these guys as robots and commodities and assets and just like.
If you're Daryl Morey.
But even fans, I think, sometimes too. So it's good to see that it does mean something to these guys.
Leonard is a robot.
You know what? He's like
corn robot.
He's like the most like energetic guy like off the court. You've never met him in person, but he's like just like wisecracking and making jokes. It's so different.
Tell us about the Rockets.
Like Robin Williams.
I put most of my thoughts in an article on TexasTriangleTrio.com. Why don't you guys go check that out if you're listening to this. You're going to have a lot of what I'm going to say here. I wrote there. A surprise team. I don't think anyone really thought going into the season that the Rockets would be the third team in the West right now. And, you know, it's been a surprising ride and then a sobering ride. You know, we had that amazing December where we had back-to-back games where we set the NBA three-point record, and then we broke it the very next game. So it was just really fun to watch. I went back and I listened to our NBA primer that I did with you, Brian. Mm-hmm. And I think when we talked about the Rockets before the season, we were saying it looked like the way the roster is made up. I was optimistic. I thought that maybe we would be one of those teams in the bottom half that maybe if our cards fell the right way, we might be able to fight for home court. Mm-hmm. But I thought I saw us in the 4 to 8 spot, and I think you were saying like maybe not even the playoffs, and definitely like at the time I didn't argue with you too much because you just look at the team and you're just like, all right, there's a lot of question marks here.
With the loss of Dwight and
loss of Dwight, who was our interior defense basically last year. Mm-hmm. His departure, and then Mike D'Antoni, who's not exactly known as a defensive coach, coming in, there was a lot of question marks for a lot of Rockets fans, and he just made it work. He said, I'm going to give the ball to the best player on the team, and I'm going to trust him to run my offense. And if you watch the Rockets, it looks like, okay, it's really easy, just layups and threes. But the way we're doing it this year, there's a lot more motion, there's a lot more movement, there's a lot more passing, and the offense just looks so much better than it ever did under Bickerstaff or McHale, who essentially did the same thing, gave the ball to Harden, mm-hmm. but it was a lot of isolation plays, just straight up pick and rolls. There's so much more variation this year. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we went out and we addressed the biggest concern. If you want to be a three-point shooting team, you need three-point shooters. We didn't have three-point shooters last year. We had guys like Josh Smith in the later half when we picked him back up from the Clippers shooting threes. That shouldn't be happening. We have Corey Brewer, who's still this year shooting threes, unfortunately, and that's just out of, he's the guy that's filling that position. He has a pretty big contract, so he does some things well, but he just can't shoot the three. He doesn't fit our offense. But we did get Eric Gordon, and we did get Ryan Anderson, and when those guys were healthy in December, we did really well. Now the thing is, we knew going in, there's a reason why the Hornets didn't do so well last year with them, and that's because these guys are injury prone, and these guys dealt with their fair share of injuries. They've been banged up in January, and then our starting center Clint Capella was banged up in December, and we've had him back recently, but without those guys, we're already giving up the rebounding edge most evenings to other teams. But when you take away our best rebounder in Clint Capella, it's just really hard. Now, credit to our young guys, Montrezl Harrell, Sam Decker. These guys have really stepped up. They're young guys, future of this team. And Montrezl Harrell in particular, I remember, Dave, you and I we watched him NCAA. The guy was a beast in the tournament. And he still plays with that sort of frenetic energy, which is really fun. Monstrous dunks. Isn't quite the rebounder that we anticipated, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but he doesn't rebound particularly well. Part of that is he's just undersized. He's 6'8", and oftentimes we're asking him to play the center position, and he should be playing the power forward position. That would be where he'd be more suitable. Going forward, I think when healthy, we're one of those teams that has a puncher's chance against any of the top teams in the league because we can score with the best of them. Even against elite defenses, we can score on them. The thing is with the Rockets this year is it's pretty simple. It's a formula. And the formula is 14 three-pointers made. You make 14 three-pointers, the Rockets will probably win that game. When we drop below that, man, it's really tough. If our three ball isn't falling, we have a really hard time doing other things because most of our offense is predicated on the defense having to respect that. They have to collapse out of the three-point line, which means that the lanes are open for Gordon to drive, Harden to drive, set up these pick and rolls with Clint Capella, Montrezl Harrell, Nene at the basket, easy buckets for the Rockets, or the three-pointer. So when the three isn't falling, it really collapses our offense a little bit, and we haven't found a way to we haven't found a different way of scoring when our three ball isn't falling. So that's something that we're going to have to address. And I definitely think we do need the trade. We do need to be active this trade season.
What do you need?
If you look at the roster, I think the sexy thing would be to get another big. We need another big that can defend and can rebound. I was talking with David. This guy just got traded, but one of the guys that was in the rumor mill that I really wanted the Rockets to look at was Serge Ibaka, a plus defender and can hit the three. You would think that that's a dream matchup for the Rockets.
Right.
Now he comes with his own set of baggage, and he's also a free agent, so you're trading him for essentially a rental. And with like you said, with the way that the cap keeps on increasing, it makes it really tough to start retaining guys unless you just severely overpay.
Right. Is
he a $33 million a year guy? I don't know. That's really tough, but that's probably going to be what he's looking at getting.
He's no Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So he went to Toronto, and I think that's a good. They're a win now team.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're right there, right behind. I would say right now in the East, the Cavs, Celtics right behind the Cavs, the Wizards looking awesome.
The Wiz kids
looking awesome, and then Toronto right there. Toronto and the Wizards are kind of the dark horse teams in the East that are looking to knock off Celtics for that showdown with the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think that the sexy pick would be for us to go out and get a big that can defend and can rebound. I think that's really tough to do, and I think an underrated move would be to just get a backup swing guy. Another guy that can score and handle the ball and shoot the three off the bench. Someone that would take some minutes away from Corey Brewer, or would be a guy that we would trade Corey Brewer plus an asset for. Off the top of my head, someone like a PJ Tucker from the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, they're not really doing anything this year. In fact, maybe we can go 2 for 1. Also pick up Tyson Chandler from their team. He's on
Harrison Barnes.
Huh?
Harrison Barnes.
Shut your mouth.
So I think a guy like that, a 3-and-D guy that can come off the bench, hustle, especially with Gordon, being injury prone, just a little insurance going into playoffs. I think that would really pay big dividends. I don't know if that's like a big, sexy, splashy move for the Rockets at the break, but I think it's definitely a move that could help our chances, especially when we get into the playoffs and I think one of the keys is, unfortunately, we're really going to have to find a way to limit Corey Brewer's minutes. I like the guy. He does not fit the Rockets' offense. And if we can find a guy that can take his minutes, that can bring energy, defense, and three-point shooting, man, that's a big hole to fill. I like Clint Capella. Nene, he's getting up there in age, but he's still putting in solid minutes. I like our big guys. Montrezl Harrell has been decent. I like our big man rotation. Yeah, it would be great to add an awesome big guy, but I think a guard off the bench.
So as presently constructed, no moves made, you're looking at a potential second round matchup with either Golden State or San Antonio. Do you have a preference, but who do you match up better with?
Oh man, Golden State to me is just, it's hard to tell how they're going to do in the playoffs. They have so many guys that you can go to, and that just makes them really scary. I like our chances against San Antonio. No offense to the Spurs, but this is as vulnerable as they've looked in the last few years. Their thing is consistency. Tim Duncan brought a lot of that. They're still winning games. They're not winning them the same way. I think every single game that we played against the Spurs this year has been competitive, and it'll be fun to see the Rockets and the Spurs in the playoffs for sure. So I think it will be a tough series, either team. We're gonna have to beat both of them. That's the thing. We're gonna have to beat both of them if we want to win the finals or make it to the finals. So yeah, bring on the Spurs. I like our chances. I think we can hang with them, and I think it'll just be like really fun to have a Texas, in-state rivalry. This is the last time we played the Spurs. It was like in the 90s. So
yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to be doing just a quick NBA recap. Who is your MVP of the league so far this season?
I'll defer.
David?
You know what? I know this is I'm talking to a Houston guy, but I'm going Rusty West, man.
You're only saying that because you're talking to a Houston guy.
Yes, agreed with Russell Westbrook, actually. I'll double down on that.
If OKC makes the playoffs and he averages basically a triple-double, you kind of have to.
I mean, I thought it was impossible for me to, root for OKC. They're the trust fund kids of the NBA. I mean, they've just been really good since they, stole that team from Seattle. So to see them, have a quasi-down year has been really exciting for me. But I don't know if I've been as hyped for a Mavericks regular season basketball game as I was for when Golden State ran through OKC. And it was incredible because it was a 15-point game, but it was still like Russ was getting his and getting in the face, and it was that crowd was into it, and it was awesome.
Well, I'm gonna have to rep my guy, James Harden, and the thing is, he's winning more games. His team is winning more games, and I don't know if I would say that the Thunder is a less talented team. I think that's a really good team that Westbrook has. Oladipo, don't sleep on that guy. He's a good player, and they have a lot of very talented bigs down there. You got Cantor, you got other guy, Adams.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of good pieces down there. If you want to point out the triple-double, sure, he's going to have to keep that up, and we'll see if he keeps up the triple-double for the rest of the season. That is a very, very difficult thing to do, especially in the modern NBA. So what he's doing is incredible. This is not to take anything away from Westbrook. And if it were Westbrook doing that, and then Harden was just on a winning team and putting up decent stats, okay. But Harden is almost putting up a triple-double himself. I mean, he is right behind Westbrook in scoring. He is the league leader in assists. That's incredible.
That is incredible.
When Iverson won the MVP that season, he didn't score as much or have as many assists as James Harden did this season.
That's a different game, man. That's
Yeah, but Brian's right. The game has changed.
Even if we adjust for pace, for a different offensive style in modern NBA versus the early 2000s NBA, what I'm looking at is the high usage rates.
Oh yeah, his usage was
way higher.
No, I will give granted
that he was able to generate. These numbers were insane. The only guy in the last 40 years that was able to touch 50 points of total offense generated. Harden is creating 60 points of offense every night. This is a crazy number. It's the best number the NBA has ever seen. You'd have to go back to 1973 with Tiny Archibald when he put up 56 points of total offense and led the league in both scoring and assists to get to somebody that is doing something close to what Harden is doing today. This guy has had two 50-point triple-doubles. The only guy in NBA history that has ever done that. On one of those triple-doubles,
he had 54 points and 17 assists. An astonishing 95 points of offense created. To put that in perspective, the Dallas Mavericks averaged 95 points a night. And I hear what you're saying about Russell Westbrook leading the team into the playoffs, and that should be enough with his crazy stats. And I just completely disagree. Look back at the last 30 so odd years. Every single MVP has been a third seed and up. The NBA has been consistent about this. Russell Westbrook is able to lead the Thunder into the playoffs. I know a lot of fans out there may be impressed by it, but just as hard as it is to beat the top teams in the West, it is equally hard to outsuck the bottom teams in the West. I mean, 8 seed on down. The 8th seed in the West right now is 6 games away from 500. The bottom teams in the West are so bad. It would be really hard for the Thunder to outsuck them, just given the talent makeup of that team.
I would not argue at all if James Harden walked away with it, and I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't think, I think narrative plays a lot into, how voters think and how the stories are written and all that kind of stuff. So right. I think it's fascinating that none of us said anybody from Golden State. They have, I don't know if it's spreading around too thin, so they don't have maybe they're just handicapped a little bit because they are expected to do what they do, so to consider it valuable. That's the argument with this all the time. What is value? What is the best player? What is, because, it's LeBron James. It's always LeBron James, I think. Look at the 2 franchises he came and left. When he left Miami, I know they're on a huge hot streak themselves, but the answer is always LeBron James, I think. But that's not fun. That's not just like it was always Michael Jordan when he was in the league. It's just.
I didn't know Max Kellerman joined us on our podcast. It's always LeBron.
All right, no, who's Skip?
Oh man.
I guess David.
By default.
I'm that chick. What's her name?
Sage?
No,
who does it?
I forget. I actually don't watch I've watched highlights of the show.
I know you're partial to Harden, and he's a great player. Nobody is debating that, obviously, but
it's not just partial to Harden. I really think that there's a legitimate case for picking Harden, and it's not just me that thinks that. 80% of the media gave him the MVP midway through the season. There's a lot of people that watch a lot of basketball that agree that what he's doing is incredible. And look, the triple-double, I get that. And if it were like way off on Harden, I would get that. But it's not. It's like 2 extra rebounds and less assists. And you can debate the merits of like an assist or a rebound. That's fine. But what Harden is doing is he's putting up incredible stats too. He has the 4th most triple doubles up to this point, up to the All-Star break. So what he's doing is just as historic numbers wise as Westbrook, but he's doing it and winning more games. And I think that has to tip the hat in his favor.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Oklahoma City. It's not like Oklahoma City's working or Russell Westbrook has a worse team. You're right. They are. Comparable talent-wise, I would imagine. I would defer to you, obviously, in how, the minutia of it. But I think you're right. It's not like he's playing with Golden State and they're on a winning team. He is the man. He's great. I would not be upset at all if he ended up, walking with it.
And David, you are wrong, but I'll throw you a bone too. I think you have guys. What Kawhi Leonard's doing. It's kind of weird, man. We got a couple guys in the league this year that are doing some incredible things. Kawhi Leonard's one of those guys that he's not even going to be mentioned.
Which is crazy because the defensive end counts.
It really
matters.
It really does. And he's a legit 2-way player. He's affecting the game both sides. And more than ever, they're expecting him to carry the offensive load, which makes him putting up incredible defensive numbers all the more impressive. So,
all right, let's stop saying good things about the Spurs.
All right. I don't mind saying good things about the Spurs.
Guys. I just have to say, 20 seasons in a row with a winning record. 2 full decades.
I want to see you write something about the parallels between, like, New England and San Antonio. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Just year after year. It's a coach and was a coach and a good player. You guys, obviously Timmy, going to the other side.
I can't imagine Pop's going to be around too much longer, though. Like, I think he's serious about retirement. And it's not like I think he could still be an incredible coach. I just think like he's won a lot. He leaves right now. His legacy is fine, and I just think he wants to.
Pop 2020.
It's stressful, man. Like going through an entire season.
What do you think? Pop 2020.
David's on it, man. David will quit his job and work on that campaign in an instant.
They're already selling T-shirts.
He's ready.
Incredible.
He was ready. It's gonna be tough, man. That 2020 because you got Pop running for the Republicans, and then of course Brian is. I know you're traditionally Republican, but you're gonna be voting Democrat that year because of Kanye and Kim.
Kanye, Kim, yay.
Actually, Pop's actually Democrat.
Is he? That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh. Well, who knows? Maybe Kanye's a Republican.
Well,
he makes,
does
a lot,
hang out
he
with
makes a
Trump.
lot of money.
Hang out with
He
Trump.
makes that with Trump.
He does hang out. Which, by the way, I heard he like went back and deleted all his like Trump like ties and mentions like through Twitter somehow. Like he went back and just like tried to erase that history like it never happened.
And you're like, that's not how the internet works, Kanye.
He should know. He's married to Kim K.
It's the greatest comeback story ever.
Next question I want to ask you guys. Who is your surprise player? Who's really stood out for you in that first half of the season? David, I'll start with you. Actually, no. I started with David the last few times. Brian, we'll start with you.
Oh my goodness, this is putting me on the spot. I don't know if it's a surprise, but what I'd really like to see is, good grief, the Greek Freak. I think just seeing him blossom into like this.
Say his name.
Unified superstar.
Yeah, come on, man. Say his name.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah! Antetokounmpo.
Just seeing that guy really turn into what everybody kind of thought he would. Still clearly very raw, but just so talented and so like such a different thing in this game. And like, a knockoff LeBron kind of guy. He's clearly much more raw, but he's just got the size to do things that other guys cannot do. I mean that.
He's the size of a center.
Yeah, like running down the court and dunking from a foot inside the free throw line during a game with guys flying at him. Like it's just, he's fun. He's a lot of fun to watch.
All right, Dave.
I'm really glad we drafted Shane. Was that
Larkin?
Yeah, Shane Larkin instead of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Well, Larkin's blowing it up, so.
Well, not for the Mavericks.
No, Hey, I've been a fan of the Greek Freak for a while. I'm down with that. Giannis is a beast. Another one of those guys that if his team were doing a little bit better, I think he'd be one of those dark horse MVP guys. I throw him in the mix too. His numbers are ridiculous, and you got to think, like you said, raw. The guy doesn't even shoot threes, and this is an NBA league where 3-pointers are a prerequisite, and he's still putting up like 25 points a game. Mm-hmm. He can rebound like a center. He's 6'11", long arms. He's able to block shots. He's a weak side defender that can also stay with the guards on the perimeter. He's just like freak is such a perfect way of describing him on the defensive end, and on the offensive end, he's figuring out, hey, I can just score over basically everybody. Once he learns a shot, if he develops a shot this offseason, man, that's gonna be a killer.
Does he get to the line much? And how is his free throw shooting?
I think his free throw shooting is average, but he does get to the line a lot.
That's good. I mean, that can, cover him for a little bit until he learns to shoot the three. Like if he's gonna get those extra free opportunities to score uncontested points, that's really gonna help him out. That's how the guys used to do. That's how Jordan didn't shoot many threes, but he got to the line like crazy.
Yeah, he's gonna go down to Houston and train with Harden, learn that Euro step, and then he's gonna be unstoppable. Always getting in there, get the N1. David, who's your guy?
So my guy is not quite as flashy or MVP caliber, but I'm gonna say Otto Porter. Honestly,
okay.
Washington. If Otto Porter didn't make this step that he
round
did,
those into our DC fans,
then the Wizards would not be where they are. Like they'd be a maybe 8 seed. But because Otto Porter took that step and was shooting three consistently, playing just overall consistent basketball, the Wizards all of a sudden the top team in the East.
Watching Otto Porter, I still can't believe it because I still see him make boneheaded plays. I'm like, that's the same Otto Porter, but you're right. He added a 3-point shot. That has changed everything for the Wizards. It used to be John Wall or bust because Bradley was always injured, and now Beal is healthy. He's having a hell of a season too. Maybe we'll talk about All-Star snubs later if we are gonna talk about that. Then he definitely is one of those guys that got snubbed, having an incredible season. And then Porter, you're absolutely right. His adding a consistent 3-point shot has changed the dynamics for the Wizards. So my guy, Nikola Jokic. second-year man out of the Nuggets, and this is where you got to look at the scouts and what they do, and it's really incredible. And how can you project how well these guys are going to do in the NBA? What Nikola is doing is amazing. I really like him. To me, he's like a guy straight off of that Rick Adelman Sacramento Kings team, a big that can pass from the high post, knock down that mid-range jumper, has a post game, and has incredible handles for a guy that's a center. I think, Denver is definitely building around him right now, and he's starting to get more burn. His rookie season, he put up a solid rookie season, I think 10 points, 7 rebounds or something like that. This just felt like...
You hit it.
Wow. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
And his numbers, I think, he's putting up 16 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, so he's not like...
I joke with how he's playing.
So he's not blowing it up stats-wise, but I just like his game overall, his ability to pass. When you have a big guy that can create like that, it's really cool because it opens up a lot of different things that your team can do. I really like that guy. I think he's going to be one of the big stars.
I mean, I know you said Sacramento, but it's kind of like reminiscent of Portland, the Arvydas Sabonis. Like, that guy was magical, and we got him at the end of his career when he came stateside. I mean, that guy was just... He could pass with both hands. He could shoot. He wasn't, super athletic anymore. And I don't know much about, Nikola. But that's what you're describing sounds like a poor man's Arvydas Sabonis in his prime or something. I mean,
maybe a poor man. Yeah, poor man offensively, but defensively, he's good. He's good. He's solid.
Mm-hmm.
And not that Sabonis was a bad defensive player. He was on the downside of his career when he made it to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like it when you have like big guys. I just like this resurgence of big guys that we're having. As a Houston fan growing up, Hakeem Olajuwon, so you always paid attention to the big man position. Who was he guarding? That was the marquee matchup, and the league was filled with great big men back then. And then we kind of went to a more guard-oriented league.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last few years, we started having guys: Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns, Joel.
Different kind of
Embiid.
big guys. Yeah, they're big guys, but they can step out a little bit. I mean,
Cousins is a legit 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm. It's like a stretch 5 now.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I think Jokic is in that mode. I don't know. He's actually a decent 3-point shooter himself. So
and he's young, so that can improve.
Yeah, but oh man, second round pick. It's just incredible. There's a lot of talent everywhere. It really makes you go, ah. It's like when the Rockets made the wise decision of drafting what's his face. I'm forgetting his name. He was on that Derrick Rose.
Memphis team?
Joey Dorsey.
Yeah.
Joey Dorsey. When we drafted Joey Dorsey over DeAndre Jordan.
I was definitely going to say Joey Porter, which
Joey
is
Porter.
not who Joey Dorsey is.
He's a real player. Joey Dorsey over. That was a tough one. So, anyways, that's the guy I pick. I think I was going to ask Rookie of the Year, but that seems like that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Embiid, man, that guy is incredible. Scary good. He's so young, and he's dominating games, and he's dominating even when he's playing against elite guys. Like when he went head-to-head with Cat, man, there were a couple of times where he was beasting Cat.
Yeah.
Incredible.
What is his injury?
Ooh, I don't know. Dave?
Sorry.
Embiid's injury, do you know, is it like a season, or is it just like a short term?
No, it's just short term. Like he actually traveled to the All-Star game.
Gotcha.
He's just not playing. Yeah, he should be back fairly soon.
Okay. That's good to hear.
All right, let's get into the All-Star game. Taco Bell Skills Challenge. It's kind of weird. I guess I just didn't watch it last year. Were there 8 people involved? I thought it was just 4.
Yeah, it's 4 to 6 or something.
It's 8 people this year, and it's split.
There's so many skills. There's just so many skills out there.
Well, it's split like bigs, and they're kind of like bigs and smalls, but do they then like go head to head at the end? Because that just seems to be like that's like guards like dribbling.
I want to see chest passes. I want to see like 3-point stances. I want to see triple threat. I want to see it all.
I feel like Taco Bell's the wrong sponsor for this one.
Because?
I mean, if you want real Taco Bell skills, it's taking a squat, so on and so forth.
All I know is like Taco Bell, they're like, how do we make this worse for someone? What's also another fast food? Fried chicken. Let's make our taco shells out of fried chicken. It's like, wow.
Wait, that's the thing now?
That's
dude.
Thing.
That's
Interesting. This is a page out of the KFC playbook with the double stack, or what was it called? The double. You
Yeah,
remember
it
it was
was-
like
it was
instead of bread, it was just like 2 pieces of chicken.
Yeah, that's
as
right.
the bread.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dave, since you're the closest to Taco Bell, you might have to go and just, do a Bros exclusive. Film yourself eating one of these things.
Film the aftermath too. Just see
Yeah.
how. I want to see those
Yeah,
Fine.
the Taco
I'll
Bell.
Snapchat you.
Taco Bell's Snapchat.
All right, guys. Let's see here. Devin Booker, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Gordon Hayward, Nikola Jokic, Kristaps Porzingis. That's another guy, another young guy that I really like. He can't wait till Carmelo leaves New York. That team is his. Isaiah Thomas, who's been balling out of control with the Celtics this year. And John Wall, solid as always. We were talking the other day, David, John Wall, probably a top 5 MVP candidate. Another guy to throw into that mix. Probably won't actually get any real consideration, but what he's doing, truly incredible. What's your pick, guys?
I mean, they may as well just be 4, unless they're doing like the mic and drill. I don't understand why you have these big guys in there.
I have no idea either.
Like,
and
what they-
why small bigs, but all of them go together? So like, is there like a big winner and a small winner, or do they go against
No,
each
they
other?
go against each. I was reading the rules up here, and it
Oh.
says they go simultaneously in the first round, and then
It's like inherently like a small guy's like.
so there must be skills involved that benefit a big guy.
Dunking. Isaiah Thomas is like, what?
Give me Isaiah Thomas.
Good pick. Dave.
I mean, I would say Isaiah Thomas too, but I think it's between him and Wall.
I can see Gordon Hayward being really fundamental about this though, and really getting
Oh,
in the gym
yeah.
early
Oh,
and
yeah.
like really just working really hard.
Oh, for sure.
Subtle racism.
Well, he's a gym rat. He's a gym rat.
He's got keys to the gym. They have to kick him out when practice is over. They have to make him go home. He wants to practice so much. Just putting up shots. Just getting buckets.
Yeah, but the thing about John Wall, though, is if he wins, he's very well spoken.
Do you think... Okay, let's go off on a tangent here. Do you think Gordon Hayward would give up his NBA career if he's probably going to go into like finance or something and do well for himself if he makes that bucket?
He's actually a gamer.
If he makes that bucket against Duke to win the national championship, would he give up his NBA career for that? Would you do it? So like you go down, you could live off of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make appearances.
or would you rather miss that shot, take the because it's just immortalized forever, slaying Duke from Butler. I mean, which would you do, or take the NBA career and
I don't know. It's hard to pass up an NBA career.
Agreed.
That's kind of epic. That's a lot of experience and stuff that he wouldn't get to do otherwise that he gets to do. Plus, I mean, they pay pretty well to play in the NBA.
but that shot.
And he's up for he's another interesting free agent next year. He's going to be one of those guys where you wouldn't think of him as traditionally a max player, but with the cap, he's going to get a max contract. And
I mean, he's got to play. He's got to play in Utah.
He's got to. He's like the perfect Utah player. I'm going to go with my guy because I talked about him earlier, but my dark horse, Nikola Jokic. It's a big. He's going to win it.
All right.
He's got so many skills. I can't talk about a guy's skill and then say, yeah, he's going to lose the skills competition. All right, let's move on. 3-point shooting competition.
I'll let Dave take this one first. JBL, so not done by Beats.
NBA's hurting. They can't get any celebrities to show up. They got to have like everyone sponsor every little thing they do. This walkout sponsored by Adidas. This guy tying his shoe sponsored by Under Armour. Dave, who are you picking? We got Eric Gordon, Kyrie Irving, Kyle Lowry, Wes Matthews, CJ McCollum, Klay Thompson, Kemba Walker. Oh, Nick Young. David, come on.
Right. Dude, I'm going Nick Young because I am so hardcore rooting for Swaggy P.
Swaggy P. Is he going to turn around every single shot that he takes?
I hope
he's going to shoot it, turn around, celebrate, then shoot the next one, turn around, celebrate. He's going to have like 2 full racks. He's going to make it like midway through and like it's like out of time. He's like, what? And still win it because he made all of them.
Yeah. Swaggy P. That's where we're going.
I like it. You have to go with your guy.
I have to.
Wes
Matthews. I just like he's gonna shooting arrows. I hope he does this celebration every time, just pulling the quiver out of the quiver. Right, the quiver is the thing that holds the.
Yes, that is correct.
Which I've come like 180 on Wes. I remember really disliking that guy in 2011 when he popped off for like 30 in a game against the Mavs. in the playoffs.
What's crazy how you like the guy now that he's
I
on
love
your
him.
team.
Yeah, that's total. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, I root for Laundry. Like, that's it. Like, if you've got Mavericks on your chest, like, come on home. If T.O. can come on home, I mean, sure. I mean, I'll root for anybody. Like,
Yeah, looking at this lineup, I guess you like Kyrie, quick release, he's a good 3-point shooter. I think he's won before, right?
Clay's won it also. How are we not talking about one half the Splash Brothers?
Yeah, Klay Thompson, that's another. Yeah, I mean, I'll be rooting for Eric Gordon. You know, it should be noted, before he went down with this injury, he was the league leader in three-pointers made, and he was actually shooting more efficiency than either of Splash Brothers. So he's been solid for us. He's been coming back from injury, but we'll see. I gotta go for him. I gotta go for my guy, Eric Gordon. I think he's got a decent shot. Quick release too. So I mean, he's well suited for this kind of competition. Oh man, Dave, what would you do if Swaggy P got traded to the Spurs? And please let that happen.
Yeah. I am pre-ordering my jersey as we speak.
Why don't you just do it? Custom a
Custom
Swaggy P Spurs jersey. Let's move on. Slam dunk competition. Derrick Jones Jr., Aaron Gordon, Glenn Robinson III, and DeAndre Jordan. Now, when we were talking about this before the show started, we were kind of scratching our heads at DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good at power dunks. Maybe he might be.
He'll
able to
do the
pop
lob. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
He'll look. I mean, it's like with DeAndre, you're like, what can he do? Like, maybe he might jump over a guy or something. That's about
thought
it.
of him as a creative guy.
No. I think we're gonna be unanimous here, right? I mean, we were. I know, David, you and I thought, and we were just talking earlier, Brian. We all thought Aaron Gordon was robbed last year.
Correct.
I mean, Zach LaVine is a hell of a dunker, but Aaron Gordon's dunks last year were some of the best dunks I've ever seen in a dunk competition in general. So I'm hoping he can bring his A game. Probably Derrick Jones Jr., dark horse there. Guy's got hops. DeAndre Jordan. I mean, geez, just put another. There's so many other guys that could be put in that position. It's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, this is Aaron Gordon's to lose. I mean, I don't know. I guess who is Derrick Jones Jr.? I don't know who that is.
He's a guard for the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna watch Phoenix Suns games. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That's a miserable team, and that's why you guys need to keep winning, because you can't out-lose some of these teams. All right, and that brings us to the All-Stars themselves. Who do you think is going to take it this year, East or West?
Oof, well, that's tough.
We're going to go East, West, and who wins MVP?
Wait, sorry. Who wins the game or who wins MVP?
Who wins the game, and then who wins the MVP?
All right,
Where's the game this year?
I think
New
East
Orleans.
wins the game.
New Orleans MVP.
You think who?
I think the East wins the game.
Okay.
And MVP will be. I'm going with the Greek Freak. Let's do that.
Oh,
It's not bad.
who's coaching the teams?
Brad Stevens in the East and Steve Kerr in the West.
Which means I'm gonna go with the West. And I'm gonna say that Russell Westbrook is gonna put on a show because he's gonna have to be on the same team with KD, and he's gonna be in such a foul mood
Oh, for
that,
sure.
that he just doesn't really know how to like dial it down. I don't think he knows how to dial it down. I think he's like Roddy B at the SMU like gym, just running over folks unnecessarily because like it's just a game, but not to Russ. I think to Russ it's life. So I think the West. I think Russ Westbrook goes for like 35 points and like has a couple like kick A dunks and just puts on a show. What are you?
You know, it's East is they're going to be giving up some size advantage. I mean, Giannis is a freak, so he can kind of cover the big, but they don't really have a big on their roster, especially with Kevin Love being replaced by Carmelo Anthony. So I like the West chance. I think that they can out-rebound them, and I think they have better shooters. East that's an interesting lineup. Giannis, Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan, You got 3 guys, really athletic, plus defenders. Questionable shooters, and DeRozan has turned himself into a solid shooter. And then you got the Cavs with Kyrie and LeBron.
Would have been Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Replaced by everybody's favorite.
Yeah. Melo. So, let's see. I picked the West, and I'm gonna go James Harden, the beard. So, David, do you look at these rosters? Do you see any snubs? Is there someone that isn't on the team that you're like, that guy should be an all-star?
Probably should have been.
Yeah.
Yogi Ferrell, right?
For sure.
No, I mean, like, I'm a Spurs fan. I think LaMarcus put up all-star numbers, but then I look at you look at the roster and say, well, who would I knock out for him? I don't know, probably one of the Golden State Warriors, but whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what came to mind. I mean, that's what came to mind.
I don't think Klay Thompson's
too, honestly. I think, I don't know what Draymond is doing out there. I mean, one of those guys, whatever. You can't keep off KD. You're not going to keep off Steph, so it's one of the other 2 guys. I mean, is Gordon Hayward just tearing it up, lighting the world on fire this year?
He had a pretty good season.
He's had a solid season. And Utah is looking good. I remember when we were talking about when we did our NBA primer, I was saying that was one of the teams to look out for. They were just really injured last season. Now they got a bunch of their players back. They could stop anyone. That's a crazy good defensive team.
Yeah, and Hayward's putting up 22, 5.5 boards, and 3.5 assists.
It's tough when one team gets to send 4 guys. So there's not a lot of love for the rest of the teams.
Maybe Oscar game is garbage. I mean, like, let's be honest. It's not as bad as like the NFL Pro Bowl, but like, yeah, it's just a lot of. I don't know how do you incentivize it, because I think
baseball did it the right way. But it's also like, but is it the right way?
Yeah, they tried to incentivize it and make the game itself better. So they maybe made the All-Star game itself better, but at the expense of like something that actually matters, which is home field. There's got to be a way to incentivize it more, whether it's like giving these guys more money. I don't know. I mean, like, that seems they have a ton of money, so it can't be that. Maybe they give them, I don't know, they have sponsors. GM, give them trucks. I don't do something like.
I don't think they did care about that. See, for most of the players, the problem with it is that their reward is making the All-Stars. Their contract kicker is usually making an All-Star appearance. So if they're on the roster, they're already getting their bonus.
Right.
So they don't. I mean,
there's no incentive to win it.
So it's the real incentive comes for like the guys that actually have a shot at like winning MVP and putting their names in the record books. Mm-hmm. So you got like, guys like LeBron, Curry, Durant. They're gonna kind of gun for it. Westbrook, they're gonna gun for it. But a lot of the other guys, it's like, whatever. You see Jimmy Butler getting down and playing great defense, or I don't think so. I don't know. That's a good question though. How do you incentivize it? The NBA doesn't work the same way. You couldn't just give up home court advantage. It would actually be really, really weird, because there were a couple times this year where 3 teams from I think we're only like half a game behind Cleveland. So
you've got more wins, that's for sure.
So there's a chance that 3 teams from the West is better than or has a better record than the best team in the East. That would be messed up if the East winning the All-Stars gave them home court advantage in the playoffs. So it can't be that, but it should be something. Enough to make it a competitive game, but not so much that it affects something that's really important like that. Something between what the baseball did and not let it drop quite to where the Pro Bowl is. It's like the Pro Bowl knows what it is too. Like, they don't even think they're like, the people that are paying attention are people that are on vacation that are here and are just hanging out with us in Hawaii.
I didn't know this. Russell Westbrook's actually gone back-to-back in the NBA All-Star Game MVP award. So maybe
going for that 3-peat.
Maybe that 3-peat.
Oh, for sure. You were totally right when you said he's going to want to put on a show, especially when being in the same locker room with the.
Will he freeze out like Kevin Durant? Will he go guard Kevin Durant on his own team? Just take the ball from him.
That would be awesome.
Just like, give me that.
Oh wait, now I see why David picked the East. Infighting. Westbrook is like going to sub in for the East halfway through the game. He's like, Melo, go to the other team. No one wants you over here anyways.
LeBron hasn't won one since 2008. He's won it twice, 2006, 2008. And he's just, I don't know if he's apathetic to the game or
I think you're probably right. It's like one of those things where if LeBron wanted to, He could do anything. So if he wanted to, he could take over the All-Star game and win it.
Maybe he will.
Hey.
He puts that team on his back every night. He don't want to do it in the All-Star game anymore.
No. In the All-Star game, he does have more playmakers.
That's true.
All right, that about wraps up this episode. You guys have anything else to add about the Texas Triangle trio of basketball teams, or the All-Stars, or the NBA in general? Brian, I'll start with you.
I've said my piece.
David?
Yeah, I've got an article coming up on TexasTriangleTrio.com, kind of a Spurs All-Star break update sometime this weekend. So keep a lookout for that.
I'm totally doing one now.
For the Mavs?
Actually, I'm putting a piece together about Mike Napoli and Colby Lewis.
Yes, thank you.
Just switching over to baseball a little bit, but sorry, back to basketball.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to do a baseball breakdown at some point, but not this episode. Guys, if you like this episode, give us a thumbs up, subscribe for all things BBYK, and until next time, we are the Broest Bros. You know.
You know.
David, don't.
What are you doing?